Right. Hi, Jeremy. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
All right. Good. Appreciate your time. I'm gonna open this up with an introduction. Just tell us about yourself and
Okay.
why you joined the Army.
Um, my name is Jeremy Kosman, or Gramps in the Hooligans. Um, I was 22nd Engineer Clearance Company, second platoon, second squad. What else do you want to know?
Why did you join the Army in the first place? And kind of share, you were, a different age demographic is one way to put
Yeah.
it. Yeah. When
At,
did you come in?
at the time, it was 2008. There was a surge going on. I was living in Florida. Um, and there was also some hurricanes going on down here at that time. I had some friends where I was working that were in the National Guard. So I was at a time 37, 38, where I didn't know if I could join or not, but they said I could go try it. So I went to the recruiter and they took the ASVAB and they said, you can join active duty. You can go and be full time. And I was like, no way. And I had just two fresh babies. I just had two kids. I think they were 1 and 2, and a wife. And I think I heard a general on some Sunday morning show, Meet the Press or something, that said, if not now, then if not you, then who? If not now, then when? And we talked about it. I chomped on it. And I'm not going to lie, there was a sign-on bonus involved because I went needs of the Army, which was combat engineer at the time, which when they show you the video at MEPS, it's all about blowing stuff up and building bridges and all this great stuff. Failed to mention the route clearance thing.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So needs of the Army is why I joined as a combat engineer, and for the country and my family, and that's why I joined the Army at that age. And I think a lot of people doubted that I was going to be able to pass basic training, but I graduated oldest trainee in the battalion, and also was one of the 6 guys, so trainees that got promoted early. So it was actually did very, very well for my
What was
age.
that? Sorry, what was that like? Going in at 38 and you're around all these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. What was that like integration, the basic training like?
Yeah, when you realize that you're older than most of the people that are commanding you, or as far as even the drill sergeants, even in our unit, I was older than the first sergeant when we went down range. So you got to be able to just it's not about age, it's about rank at that point. That's what it is.
Okay. How would you describe route clearance to somebody that has never heard of it?
Wow. Well, I don't know what they have a saying, you couldn't get a grease toothpick up your ass with a sledgehammer. It says pucker factor of 10. It's like if you were driving through South Central on Saturday night at 5 miles an hour, you know what I mean, with your windows down. It's bad. It's got to be done, but nobody wants to do that job. Honestly, it takes crazy people, combat engineers.
What was the mission of route clearance? What are they trying to do?
We're basically clearing the roads and everything. You're not just dealing with IEDs. I know it's just tuned onto IEDs. What you're basically doing is you're patrolling the area as well, because IEDs aren't the only thing that get you, obviously, we know personally. So it's a presence patrol, it's route clearance. It's meant to save everybody, us, them, civilians. It's just to make it a safer combat zone, if that can make any sense at all, for log packs, logistical packages that are coming in, everything, just keeping your AO swept up is the way we look at it, right? Mowing the lawn.
There you go. So in kind of a general sense, when you think back, we were deployed in 2011, you're gone for a year. In your case, you had mentioned you're married, you got 2 kids. Like, what kind of things did you have to do to get ready to deploy for a year? And did you have, how you imagine a year being, did it kind of go as expected? Was like, what kind of challenges did you have in just getting ready for that? And then what kind of things surfaced during that time?
It was weird for our unit, especially because we had gotten a couple false deployments. I mean, you remember that, right? I don't know what time you came into the 22nd, but we were supposed to go a couple times. We didn't. We got stalled, which allowed me to go to more schools, test out, and become explosive ordnance clearing agent, EOCA, which put me even to a more crazier job. And, it was just leading up to it. It's hard to describe what it's like, you know what I mean? Because we really didn't know. I've never been deployed. We were with other people that had been deployed, and yourself, you had deployed before, correct? So, we knew a little bit, but then when we found out where we were going and I saw everybody's faces, when we had some of our briefings, it got really scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was like, when the first sergeant came down and said, look to the guy left, look to the guy to the right. All of you probably not gonna make it back. That's when it became real, right? When he said, you're going to war, and look to your left and look to your right, and not everybody's gonna come back. And it's the truth. When you're sitting there doing things that you don't want to do 200 times over, and you realize when you go down range why, because even all that training we had, it was still fucking hard.
It was, and you talked about, and I want to get it right, it's EOCA, it's Explosive Engineer Ordnance Clearance Agent Course, correct? Okay,
Correct.
what is that for people that wouldn't know? Why are we talking about that school?
Okay, well, what they do is, a lot of the times route clearance got so stretched out that EOD couldn't respond to every explosive that was found. So they started making parameters like under 255 rounds, stuff like that, 5 rounds. And I think it was like under 80 pounds or something like that, which, we're supposed to calculate in the dark or wherever we're at out there. But it was basically to make it quicker what we do, because, EOD, nothing against EOD, love you guys, but you could be time on target for hours, correct? If you're waiting on EOD, compared to us doing it, identifying it, trying to get some pieces off of it for identification, maybe where the wires were tied together, stuff like that, the pressure plate, collect that evidence, and then just bip it, blow in place, destroy it ourselves, and then take that information back to the TOC and try to establish who the bomb maker is in the area and stuff like that. So I think it was just for expediency. At one point, the Army just had to make a decision, because I think EOD training is really long and difficult. EOCA's 30 days, I think, but it's a very difficult school. I mean, it was just an attrition. Not everybody made it, for sure.
So outside of EOD in theater, it sounds like you had to be trained through the EOCA school to be able to blow things in place or get rid of ordnance. That's what that did. That school authorized you to
Correct.
get rid of
And then even when you pass that school, you have to go to an in theater blow in place school when you're in Afghanistan, which actually gives you clearance to do it on the battlefield. So, testing upon testing upon testing. But yeah, and then we had time to go. Some people went to R2C2. Some people I got to go to GPR as well. We did the Husky, which is the when you get on the dirt, it's the front 2 vehicles. One has the big ground penetrating radar, because the hostiles over there have figured out that we had metal detecting, so that really wasn't working anymore. They started making stuff out of plastic, wood, tape, stuff that we couldn't identify with metal detecting. So we had to go actually into ground penetrating radar, which is almost you're doing it with a screen up there, and you're sort of looking at the anomalies under the earth. It's difficult. It's you're making calls that are very difficult.
Sounds a lot more technical than what people might think too. The kind of packages and the equipment that's in there. There was the Blue Force trackers, and
yeah, and that was part of our deal when we would always alternate a lot, because nobody ever wants to drive the Husky, the front truck, right? So that was like drawing straws, man. We would rotate on that, and if you didn't have your Husky day, you run in the Blue Force tracker in the Buffalo, which we used to interrogate the bigger stuff. So yeah, we had to go to Blue Force tracker school. I mean, there's so many schools we went to, right? And yeah, just think about the encoding and all the stuff we had to do with radios and comms every morning. And there's so much stuff people don't understand that goes on. It's crazy.
That's a good point. So what did it look like going through a mission from like the time they tell you, you've got a mission brief, like from the best, this is what, 11 years ago now. you know, like walk us through, like, what did a typical mission look like,
No,
just bare bones?
right. I can honestly say in the beginning, we were rolling right and doing everything. And as over time, with the more casualties, the more vehicles that were down, the more everything, and all that got stressed out to the, at the, you know, during the deployment. I know you remember that, where we were literally scampering around in the middle of the night trying to find out if we had enough people and vehicles to even make it to go on
Sure.
mission.
Sure.
So in the beginning, there was briefings and it was good and this and that, but I have a feeling there for a while we were just trying to make it, man. It's what it felt like, you know what I mean? So the mission briefings were basically going down the same routes we had done it then, you know what I mean? And we'd get those special ones like going down to Chilliwack and stuff, or wherever we'd get those little blips of where activity was. And nobody ever liked going down a new route. I know you know that. So we'd get pretty heavy briefings for those, but you never knew. The briefing was like, plan, what do they say? Hope for the best, plan for the worst is what it is basically.
Okay, so you got your mission brief and then like go to the motor pool next.
Yeah. Oh, it's a long process. I mean, yeah, you got to get yourself personally responsible. Then you got to get your crew. You got to find your vehicle. You got to get that spun up. Me as a yoke, I got to make sure my robots have batteries. Everything's ready to go. You got whoever's doing comms, encrypting the radio. They're going around to every vehicle. There's probably a couple Joes that are going to the DFAC to grab up food for somebody, big boxes full of food so everybody can eat before we dip. And then even with after that free, when everything's spun up or ready to go, we're probably Redcon 5. We still do those little missions, talk about what we're going to do, take a knee, pray. Usually we prayed. Sometimes if they made it, the AA would come and they would go out with us sometimes, but it would take 3 or 4 hours to even spin up to even go out to wire sometimes. This is a long process, and coming back to the same thing. You just don't get to come back and rack out. You got to fill up your vehicle. You got to you got to change out your air filters. I mean, we're talking 16, 18-hour days, man, upon a and that's, wow, no days off. The one day you had off, you were doing QRF, and where we were at, that meant you were quick response, rapid response. And people got hit every day. So you must have likely had to stay spun up all day close to your vehicle and ready to go out and rescue somebody or do, pull a vehicle out. So
there was a mission, and I without pulling up the date, it's just something that flashed in my head, but it's something I did make an entry on. Do you remember it was earlier on in the deployment, and we were quick reaction force for some infantry that were coming back after being out for a week, and it was a black route, meaning nobody had been out there in forever, right? And we had to go out and rescue them, and they were getting shot at when we were picking them up.
Yeah. Is that where they gotten one of the dokings stuck in the mud and they were trying to recover it and stuff? That's why we had to go pull them out, because they were so close to the fob and they had gotten something stuck. Was that one?
That's actually a different thing. And now that I think about it, we were in a different platoon, so you probably weren't on that one. And that's why you're thinking of something else, right?
In the beginning, it was like that. But then as time went on, all of our platoons interwove, and then they called in, who was it, the 570th, to replace a lot of guys. So that's when we got
right,
a different company that came. And then so, at the end, all the platoons were doing with each other. It was weird. It was a really weird deployment, I guess.
Yeah, I got some quotes on that. So let's talk about like what comes to mind in just a general sense. You think about this year you're deployed, and this might be, you think about family, you think about the deployment itself. When you think about like 2011 to 12 and going to Afghanistan, what kind of like themes or what kind of things come to mind?
I can honestly say 11 years makes it almost surreal, like it was a movie. Even though I have the scars and the nightmares and everything else, it just doesn't seem like it was real. It just still doesn't seem like. I don't know how we made it back from there personally. I mean, I know you talked several times down there, and I had gotten to the point. We had mentioned I had went to combat stress. So once you see your buddies, and what happens, it gets to a point where you don't care anymore. It sounds weird, but you hate the enemy so much and you want to go out there and kill them every day that you don't care about yourself anymore. And that seems strange, but it's a revenge thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Sorry, can we talk about that? Like what, the incident with rear and what led to your, you
Yeah.
going combat stress?
So this was what, 13 days into our deployment or some shit. The 10th mission, I think it was my 10th mission. And we were just learning the routes, just learning our whole job, all the stuff we had trained for. How many times have we had gone down lanes and stuff, I mean, me and you had done, so it felt like we had been, and then we went to out to California, Fort Irwin, 30 days in the sandbox doing those missions. It felt like we knew our jobs pretty well, pretty proficient, but this is new territory, new people, new place, and we were just getting our legs, just feeling it out. And seemed like a normal morning. It was Sergeant Blevins was our tactical commander. Rear was our newest private, I believe. Wasn't he one of our nearest privates, and he was the gunner. Privates. Freudian slip. He was on the Crow, on the 40 millimeter grenade launcher. And who was it was one of the twin towers that was in the driver's seat. Big blondie. What's his name? Not Lamond, but
Adams.
Yeah, Adams was the driver. And we had it's funny, when we trained not to go back on the routes that we came in, right? Not to do our normal TTPs, correct? And then when we went there, a lot of that stuff sort of went out the door because of where we were at, right? That's what I talked about. You plan for the best, but it didn't always work out like that. So Route Summit was one of those routes where you went down, you went around, there was a turnaround, which is the fucking worst thing, right? They were always waiting for us there every day at the turnaround, right? And then you come back and you go down the same route, back Route Summit. What's one of the closest routes to the base, right? The FOB, it's right there. I mean, it's right there. And we were just, cruising along down Route Summit real close. What is it, 12 kilometers per hour or whatever? And then boom, we see an explosion. Thought it was an IED because it looked like, I think it was Sergeant Kiriyama's truck. It was an RG up in front, RG-31 up in front of us. But what it was is it was a recoilless rifle that hit the berm. So we really didn't identify it. And everybody was doing the all clear, all clear, all clear when we got hit first. It hit the Buffalo, went right through our engine block. At that point, fire suppression system, smoke, us doing the same thing, all clear, all clear. We got almost to the third all clear when the second one hit, and that was 18 inches from my head. And I remember in the peripheral seeing the plexi or whatever that armor windows are crack, and then I don't remember anything else really. And I know that round came in and went across my lap and hit rear on his actual hand that was on the Crow system, and basically took off half of his hand. And I mean, just riddled the whole vehicle. Was just blood, you know what I mean? Screaming. And I was in and out. I'm not gonna lie, I was in and out. And I remember talking to Sergeant Blevins, and I don't know if he talked to him and he would say this, but he would always say that he couldn't put my hands out. My hands were on fire and he couldn't put my hands out. And I remember him trying to remove one of my gloves after he already put a tourniquet on rear. And if he took off my glove, more was going to come with it. You know what I mean? So he didn't jack with that. I remember the in and out. I remember the platoon doing what we're supposed to do, which is pull one RG up to the side, another RG to where the wounded side, and they were going to try to pull us out. I remember Sergeant Blevins asking me if I could climb down the ladder physically. I couldn't find my weapon. What looked like was my BFT and all my shit was just gone, and it looked like the inside of a baseball, and I guess it was the spalding of the Kevlar. And of course it looked like spaghetti because it was all red, so it was just like a weird thing in my head. I wasn't all there, you know what I mean? I remember people trying to talk to me and I couldn't put words together. Just groaning. And I remember that you could have this one chord you could press on your battle rattle and it would make the whole thing fall off, remember? Yep. But it was heinous to put back together. So I remember telling them, no, don't do it. I'll just take my own shit off, even though I was fucked up. We're stupid, but I didn't want to go through that. You know what I mean? So they somehow got me in another IG, got rear. I don't even know what vehicle rear rode in. I don't remember a lot of it. I remember seeing Long Yon's face in the RG and Lamont driving and them comforting me and that we were going to live. You know what I mean? They got us to the fob because it would take longer to get flown out of there than it would just to get to the fob at that point. I remember hearing a story saying that the Buffalo was still drivable and that either Hallberg or I think it was McCall, somebody got in the top of that and drove it outside the hatch back to the fob, that jacked up Buffalo.
Oh.
So I remember getting there. They did some quick x-rays and some other shit. And they decided that both of us, because I had some shrapnel in my neck and shit, they told us to, they were going to fly us to Kandahar. So I think it was Air Force PJs on a Black Hawk came and picked us up. At that point, you know, it's crazy because they had cut all of our uniforms off and we were basically in space blankets being taken care of by these PJs. So you show up to Kandahar and you don't have nothing. You know what I mean? When we got out of the hospital, you know, I was worried about Rear. I want to make sure he was going to be all right because, you know, another strange thing about our unit was that we were together for a long time. And a lot of the guys I went to basic training with. So I knew their families, I knew their kids. We were like a really close unit like that. You know what I mean? So I just remember they're like, I was older cats. So they were like my kids at a certain point. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I was always worried about them. And Rear was one of the youngest kids. You know, he was a good kid, right? Rear was a good kid, man. Of all the privates we had, Rear was a good kid. And, you know, one of the reasons I joined also was maybe I thought I could take the place of an 18-year-old that had never been married, never had any kids, you know, and unfortunately it didn't work out that way. But that was some of my meaning behind it. You know, these kids that we basically served with kids, man. These were 18, 19-year-old kids. Am I right, Joey?
There was a lot
That are under
of
phenomenal task and pressure put on them. I don't think people understand.
I
Especially our job.
1000% agree with that. And that's something that's right. That's a key point that should be highlighted. That's a lot of stress for a 19-year-old.
Oh man. And expect him to do what we did, not just the job. All right. Basic training and training in your unit is all difficult and can still give you PTSD. But when you actually go down range and you experience your brothers and sisters getting fucked up, and you still have to go out there the next day. You don't get a day off. You don't get you know, oh, I need 3 days off. I'm emotionally upset. No, they come and tell you that your fucking squad leader just had both his fucking legs blown off. You know, that was one of the worst ones for me because Sergeant McCallum, we all looked up to him. He won the ACE award, right? Army Combat Engineer of the Year, consummate fucking engineer. This guy's a badass. He's the baddest, one of the baddest guys we got. And then he gets fucked up like that. And it just makes you think that it can happen to anybody. You know what I mean? It can happen to anybody. So when we circled around and got that news, I got to say that was one of the worst times of my time over there because, you know, and it's funny, I know someone will vouch for me. I said it in that circle, not a right away, but I said, I know Sergeant McCallum, and I bet you in 2 years, he'll be running a faster fucking 2-mile with fake legs than he did with legs. And I'm pretty sure he did that. There's just certain people that you know are going to do that no matter what. So I guess if it could have happened to anybody, I hate to say that, but you know, a lot of people wouldn't have made it through that. A lot of people didn't make it through that came back on all their pieces. That's your head's your biggest battle, not your physicality. I think, you know, you're either mentally prepared for it or not. And it's hard to say with your personal experience, what's going to happen, because like you say, we've all lost brothers and sisters to suicide now, you know, 22 a day. It's probably higher than that now, I'm sure. So just because you come back in one piece doesn't mean you made it. You know, there's a lot of damaging, scarring shit that you see over there. That's, you know, hard for me as a 38-year-old man to process, let alone a fucking kid, literally 18-year-old kid. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's part of me that thinks you can join at 18, but you can't deploy till you're 21 or something. I don't know, man. But that seems like a lot of pressure put on a little kid, man. It's fresh out of high school. You know what I mean? At least our job, keep him on the talk or whatever. But you got him in a gunner spot or driving an RG, man. That's a hot spot, man. We had some little badasses in our unit too, man. You know, I joined at a time when everybody said that they had lowered the standards and there was a bunch of fat people joining. You remember they had the mysterious stress cards that you were supposed to be able to pull out. I don't know if those
I don't know if those were all marketing ploys for the Army or whatever, but
I thought I was going to have it. I was in pretty good shape for my age, so I thought I was going to have it fairly easy. Then I showed up to my basic training. These kids were all beasts, dude. I don't know where they got these kids, but a lot of our engineers were beasts, weren't they? They picked them. They cherry picked people out of there. I guarantee it, because we had a lot of badass kids, man. A lot of badasses, and a lot of them are still serving. So it's awesome. I love to see that list you showed me of those guys that are still active and still doing it. And that's amazing. That's amazing. Like I follow Rock and a lot of the guys, Yakovich. I don't know if you know him, but yeah, good stuff. A lot of them become recruiters, have become drill instructors now, which is excellent. Drill sergeants. So it's good shit, man.
And I just want to point out, you're wearing a hat that shows Purple Heart. Was that from that incident with Rear? You were
Yeah.
awarded
See, I digress. There's the TBI, man. I'm all over the place. We're supposed to be talking about Rear and that day. That's probably me subconsciously trying not to talk about it. But yeah, that. So I think everybody in the vehicle that day got a Purple Heart, if I'm correct, and a combat action badge. And I'm pretty sure that our unit was like 60% Purple Heart and 100% combat action badge. I'm pretty sure. Right. I know
I don't know anybody that didn't get a combat action badge.
Right. And I know the Purple Hearts are way up. There's a lot of injuries, man. I know, multiple times, you know. They kept me after that day. Rear got to leave to go to Longstuhl because he was seriously injured. I went into the traumatic brain injury clinic at the Wounded Warrior, which I think they give you 24 days. If you can pass the test that they give you after 24 days, you can get back to your unit and you can go do your job again. So the TBI clinic was weird. It was a new thing, and I was very lucky because they got me right away. And what they do is they put you in a tent that's dark, no stimulation, no light stimulation, no sound stimulation, and they keep you there for like weeks, man. There's no stimulation, and it's supposed to be able to repair your brain better. You know what I mean? And I had some burns and to my retinal. I have eye damage and other shit now. You know, my eyelashes never grew back. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. You know, just who knows what happened in that vehicle and what. You know, I just picked a piece of shrapnel out of my leg a little while, like 2 weeks ago. It comes out all the time, and it's magnetic because I use a magnet on it. You know, so it could be part of the vehicle. It could be part of the bomb. Could be part of the BFT. I don't know what. There's all kinds of shit in me. You know what I mean? I did have the toxic embedded fragment test, and I don't have anything that's like gonna kill me type toxicity. So I did a lot. Like I told you, I've gone after my deployment. I've had a lot of tests through colleges, including Washington University. I think I had one when I was there for TBI. I did one with UCF, University of Central Florida. I did that olfactoral test with sights, smells, and sounds. So, you know, been trying to give back a little bit. I'm sort of a lab rat and what it did to us.
Yeah, you've had a lot of unique experiences with different treatments and stuff. And that's one thing I do want to be sure we get time to discuss is coming back, you've had a lot of challenges. It sounds like you've had encounters with, certainly it sounds like there was a concussion, within the initial blast or a traumatic brain injury. So what's been your journey coming back? Like, what kind of challenges have you had, and what has it been like to be Jeremy Kosman coming back?
Well, that's funny because
experiences.
I remember one of our old sergeants coming up to my wife and saying before we left that say goodbye to your husband because he's not going to be the same guy when he comes back. Right. And I can attest to that. I've had to change a lot in my life, and a lot of it is the traumatic brain injury. A lot of it is the trauma. A lot of it is losing people. And people always ask me, "What would you take it back? Would you do it again?" And I can't say that I would take it back because there was great moments, there was horrible moments. It was all that. But I don't know if I would. There was so much learning and from the experience that I don't know if I would just not do it. You know what I'm saying? When I was there, I had a hard time with the rear thing. I had a hard time with all these kids getting hurt, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm sort of a softie like that. You know what I mean? I care about people. So it was offered to us, and I took the choice to go to combat stress downrange, which can be looked at several ways. You know what I mean? I don't think it affected my job and what I did. I thought it was helping me go down Mount Summit again at fucking 5 miles an hour, man. And that's the reality of it, because you imagine, you know, it's a horrible thing happened to you somewhere and you still got to go there every day. And not only that, you got to drive slow. So I needed that combat stress. They tried this experimental red light therapy. You know the name of it, I believe. What's the name?
I think what they did was EMDR.
Yeah, EMDR. So it was like I can only explain it like a Cylon. They put you in a dark room and it's a Cylon light going from left to right, and you're supposed to focus on that light. And they basically make you go over the experience frame by frame. And what they basically explained it to me was your brain is like a computer full of files, and you have some corrupted files. So what we're going to try to do is change the ending and then heal those files so they'll go away, is what they did. And it, you know, it gave me the ability to suck it up and go back out there and do my job without being a scared little bitch.
Wow. Okay. I think anybody.
And I'm not gonna lie, man. When first sergeant came to the fucking Kandahar, when I was getting ready to get out of the Wounded Warrior, and he said, "It doesn't take a hero to get blown up, Kosman. It takes a hero to get back out there."
Mm.
So when my first mission, when I went back out after coming back, he came up to me and said, "You're my hero," and handed me a cigar. And you know how that shit went down there, you know what I mean? And it made me, it made me feel like, you know, I was there for my brothers. I didn't do that for anybody else, but for you guys, man. You know, I probably could have faked it and went home. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I could have just stayed in there. I lied to pass the test. They were asking me, you know, I was having tests done where you they put light in your eye like normal, and my eyes weren't even dilating at the same time. What I think it was is they were looking at me like a 25-year-old, but I was really I had my 41st birthday in Afghanistan, you know what I mean? So I was older and my brain was taking longer to heal. I was having some seizures. When they had this one test where they would put you on a soft pad and then you would close your eyes. I would just fall over, you know what I mean? Everything was fucked. So I worked through all that with the more testing, of course. That's all the Wounded Warrior TBI clinic was, more testing like that. Cards, showing you cards, putting them back, seeing if you remember the cards. Just more detail to the stuff, the tests that the medic will give you when you get blown up, you know, right? Because you got blown up multiple times too, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get the test. He comes up, what's your name? What date is it? He gives you what Apple window. He gives you a bunch of random shit, and you're supposed to repeat them back, right? If you don't make the cut, then you're out for 24 hours. You're down. You know what I mean? Maybe to get diagnosed further. So we were constantly adapting, trying to be able to keep going and doing our jobs over there. And that's one of the decisions I made, was to try out that new experimental procedure, you know, and it worked, obviously. A little bit.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, how about after deployment? Because are you using VA now as your primary healthcare?
Yeah, it's my primary. I bought into the VA way for the first, I'd say 3 or 4 years. So I was on all the pills. I think it was 10 or 11 pills a day for, you know, psych meds, muscle relaxers, pain meds, all that. And honestly, I can tell you, between the mix and me self-medicating, I don't even remember 2013, 14, or 15, really. Okay. It's a blur. I can tell you that I got separated from my family. That was all screwed. I went and lived with my dad, going to the VA when I was going through my comp and pen hearings. And there were several times where I got brought home by the police, totally blackout drunk. Didn't even remember, to my dad. They would bring me home to my dad instead of take me to jail. You know, I got very lucky because of my status, obviously, as a Purple Heart veteran. They're all, a lot of cops are veterans, so we get a little love there. You know what I mean? I got lucky. And then I started going to I got hooked up with the Wounded Warrior Project, who actually helped us downrange in Afghanistan by giving us clothes and food and money for cigarettes and shit, and hooked us up while we were in Kandahar, because we didn't have anything really. You really don't have any contact with you guys, our unit. That was the worst part about it. We had no contact because the fob you guys were on, if anybody got hurt or injured that day, it was blackout, and somebody got hurt or injured every fucking day. So it was constant blackout. So I never I couldn't handle not being a hold of you guys. You know what I mean? I would get little bitty tids and bits from people that would come in for different things, school or log packs or whatever, to get our new armor plates or whatever. But it was, you know, it's been real. It's been rough. You have to be proactive, man. I've done a lot of excursions, which I forget what they call them. I've done a couple soldier rides with the Wounded Warrior Project, which, you know, it's a lot of that is you're never going to go to a Wounded Warrior Project event without doing some work, some mental work. They're going to put you through mental work. It's not just fun. People think it's fun, but nothing, you know, you're going to talk about your experiences. You're going to be, you know, deal with other shit. And I did some other deeper ones. I think they sent us up to South Carolina. I did some whitewater rafting and some shit I had never done, putting me in other uncomfortable situations, you know. So started doing yoga. And then I eventually made the choice to get off the meds, and now I'm on the medical marijuana program here in Florida, I think for 3 or 4 years now, 3 years. And it's benefited me better. I feel it's, you know, I don't know if I'll ever be 100% again, but I know that it's making it easier on me. I'll say that.
Okay.
I do have things, tics, whatever you want to call them. I have outbursts. I have rage issues, road rage, you know, all that stuff, man. It's tough being us. It really is, man. And you know, we just make it day by day. And hearing these stories, I think will help everybody personally, because it's strange. You think, and you see in the movies that all these units are so close afterward. And I don't think that's a reality, because I think we went through such traumatic shit. When we talk to each other, it brings that shit all up again. And it's very hard. I remember when I got back trying to go visit Rear afterward, and it was one of the most difficult things I ever did. Same thing with Parker. We knew different people. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's so fucking soul crushing, and trying to maintain your composure around them to not make them feel awkward is her hardest part, right? Yeah, tough stuff, man. Tough fucking stuff. I can only say that we're blessed to make it back.
Yes.
And I could say I feel fucking real sorry for the Afghanistan people. Because
Yes. Well, go ahead, elaborate on that. I just want to delve into that topic. Like, what are your thoughts about the situation in Afghanistan today?
I just feel like those people are getting, they're just a victim of money, something. I don't know. It just, nothing we went over there seemed right for what we were doing. You know what I mean? There's just, for every one of us that got hurt, I guarantee a lot of them got killed. I can't remember us ever getting in a firefight or any kind of IED, anything like that, without them, the other side not dying. They knew when they challenged us, right? When they took that first shot, they knew they were gonna die. That's crazy, man, to think that enemy is like that, you know. And I thought I was gonna hate all Afghani people, but that wasn't the case. I think there were some people that meant well and didn't really know what the hell was going on over there either, and just got caught up in it. Sort of like we did. We thought we were going over there for righteous reasons, but I don't know if it really turned out that way or not. At that one point, I think we were just there to protect each other. I don't think the war meant anything. We were just trying to get through every fucking day, right?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to kind of get a sense of like where you fall on the spectrum. What did your time there end up meaning anything?
After the pullout here recently and the 13 Marines getting killed, or the 13 and one soldier, or the 12 and one soldier, I gotta say that got kicked a lot of fucking soldiers in that dick, man. We put so much sweat, blood, and fucking effort into that fucking place, not even knowing why, just because you're told, you know. And yeah, I can't see any positive impacts that came from that war whatsoever. You know, besides the damage to the people in the country, the damage to our kids that we sent over there. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but it's just astronomical. That was a 20-year-long war. I mean, we created a whole generation of wounded veterans and PTSD, and we have a lot to deal with still that we don't even know.
Is there any other experience in Afghanistan that you want to share?
Gosh, there was, you know, we could go on forever, right? There was funny moments. There was moments I mean, every emotion was there, you know, times 100,000. I don't even know how. Truthfully, Joey, I don't even know how we did it. I don't even know how the fuck we got up every morning and did it. You know what I mean? And we know there's some guys that are, you know, if we had to put up a picture of our unit and cross the faces out, I don't even want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't want to look at it. but I know it's fucking pretty bad right now. I don't know if you've done it. This is probably making you do that, which is probably even more difficult. And I'm sure reading this book, I will fucking have every emotion, including lots of tears. So, just the bonding that we did, the closeness we had to have to be able to go out and do that every day and trust each other and each other's jobs. Because if we didn't do each other's jobs right, then someone's going to die. That's the difference, man. That was our joke. Remember, pink mist. That's what we get when we fucking don't do our job right, is pink mist. And you can laugh about it when we trained, but once we saw somebody really, once we started people getting really fucked up, including myself and Rear, and it got real, it got real the first day we were there. I mean, we were in a hot place. Fob Pasab was Fob Wilson, that they changed the name, whatever it was a hot place. I mean, I even heard helicopter pilots, because I took a lot of helicopter flights in and out of there. They hated that fob because they were going to get shot at every time. I mean, I remember all the times we were getting rocketed at night, and we would have to spin up. Remember, at the beginning, we would get all our battle rattle on, and we would all run out to the bomb shelter. And as time progressed, you would see dudes out there in their underwear and their helmet. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't give a fuck anymore, man. It just you get numb and number to it, and you just don't care. And then they started saying that remember the fob was going to get overrun. We had to start getting up on different points of the fob, and it's just like we were literally, there's a hostile country, and all you've got is a 15-foot fucking cement wall between you and them. And not only that, we had Afghan National Army on our fob.
Right.
So I never felt comfortable over there in that aspect, and I know you know that. I said it many times. There's probably another reason for my combat stress too, was I didn't trust them at that point. Once they do you wrong, I had a saying over there: if they're talking, they're lying. Because we had interpreters, but nobody. Those people just don't tell the truth over there. And from what I know now from the Quran, it's all right for them to lie to infidels. So there you go. You know what I mean? We don't have a religion like that. So, so I felt like we got fucked over by them a lot, and I know you do too. I think we got lied to. And we went through areas that when they said it was all good, and I know they saw them plant the IEDs, and they didn't say anything, and we got hit.
And there was the Afghan police, and there was the Afghan army, but the police there don't function like police here.
Yeah, they were corrupt as hell. I guarantee they were taking weapons and handing them to the the Taliban. We knew that was happening. I mean, we got hit.
Taliban. Our
recoilless rifle was Chinese, and we got hit with 82 millimeter armor, or 82 millimeter armor piercing rockets, Chinese stuff. So the Afghan, that's the difference. Taliban gets their stuff from anybody, Not that they had the best equipment, but they know how to use it. I mean, they basically hit 3 shots within a 20-second period with a recoilless rifle. You got to be pretty good. That's a pretty good recoilless rifle team, right? To incapacitate our vehicle and shoot us again within 10 seconds. That's pretty crazy. I didn't think they had that kind of capability. I don't think we knew that was in our AAO yet, did we?
I don't think I heard about recoilless rifles until we got there, but it's really hard to remember those details. I just, I
know we were worried about EFPs and IEDs and other things, and V-beds a lot, but I don't remember hearing recoilless rifle yet. Not even in briefings, not even in intel. You know what I mean? It was hard area to read, man. After being there a while, we realized their process. Remember, they would go from north to south along Afghan 1 and just harass the fobs and everybody else. It was almost like you could time it after time. Remember, you got to remember, these guys have been fighting forever, the Taliban, and they do this and harass us all day and night, and then go back to their families. That's the difference. You know what I mean? These are professional fighters against kids.
That they were, right?
Yeah, I have respect for those guys. I never thought we would get our asses handed to us by dudes in robes and sandals. I would honestly say that, because we had that gung-ho, fucking unbeatable, bulletproof mentality. We did. And that fucking ended pretty quickly. Yes. We got our asses handed to us in some serious fucking situations, to where vehicles would get blown up, platoons were stranded, we would spin up recovery, and then the fucking the haulers would get blown up, and then we have 3 or 4 vehicles that are down, and then CAS and close air support has to be involved, and warthogs, and I mean, we had some serious fucking shit going down. I know, Whew. You know, I know you
So,
remember those. The wreckers get stuck out there too. Then how are you going to get? You know, it takes a bigger wrecker to get one of the wreckers. You know, that's when we guys like us have to think about destroying our own vehicles so they don't get them. So we'll take the C4 to them before they get them. You know.
right. Yeah, and there's stuff you're talking about that's got me making some notes too. So on a positive note, just kind of in closing, like, tell us a bit about like where you are today and what you have going on, and let's close it on a positive note.
So I went through my comp and pen. I'm 100% disabled, wounded combat veteran. I get my benefits. I also get Social Security, and I'm not employed at the point now, but I do a lot of things in my spare time. A lot of it dealing with veterans and trying to help them with the Wounded Warrior Project. I'm an alumni, and my phone's on 24 hours, 7 days a week for anybody. I'll always talk to any veteran. I have made veterans through every branch now through the Wounded Warrior Project. So I'm talking Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, all of them. Also got involved with a couple other organizations here locally in Florida. So, and also the testing, trying to get research done on what happened to me and how we can help soldiers in the future to deal with TBI and all these other things, and shrapnel and toxic embedded stuff. Yeah, so, and I'm taking care of my 2 teenagers, and you know, it's more always responsibility, you know what I mean? So I've just tried to keep it together. I have a positive attitude, yoga, reggae, love, spread love, and just try to be a good person every day. That's all I can do. I do have, like I said, it's Jekyll and Hyde. I know you can relate to that. I have a big aversion to booms and loud noises. I'll tell you that. Even just the slamming of a toilet seat or something like that will send me reeling. It's like I have Tourette's now. I'll just like, fuck. So there's just little things you got to get used to dealing with me. You know what I mean? But it's some weird stuff that ticks and stuff that have happened. But I don't think I'll ever get over the boom thing, dude. Yeah. Booms are not good for me, man. I mean, the first 4th of July, when it wasn't even the 4th yet. I hate when people get them early, right? And we were at a gig, and we were in the parking lot, and somebody lit off one of those big mortars without me knowing. And then they looked, where's Cause? Where's Cause? Man, in 2 seconds, I was under a car, man. That was, you know, my first 6 months back or whatever, you know, but it's, yeah, it just takes a while to leave you, man. I mean, I remember being in the tents over there when we were, of course, they put the engineers right next to the howitzers, right? Because we were attached to the infantry. Remember that? So I remember when the new guys would get there, and the howitzers would start at night, and they would be, is that incoming or outgoing? He's like an outgoing, set up and go to sleep for 2 hours. But just that. You didn't even have to go outside the wire and be on that fob to have PTSD, because we constantly got attacked. We constantly had sirens going off. You could never sleep for more than a fucking couple hours without something fucking happen. You know, they were jacking with us mentally, you know what I mean? So the fact that we're here and I'm even talking to you is amazing to me, man. We can only do what we can do. I know you got kids, I got kids, so that's the only reason I'm still here, probably, is the responsibility. If not, I probably would have drank and drugged myself to death by now, like all these other kids. It's the honest truth. I'm a glutton for punishment.
It is what it is, and kids are a protective factor. So yeah, that seems to be your anchor.
I think it's given my kids some insight on the whole thing, you know. So
sure. How open are you with your kids about your experience and what you went through?
I tell them as much as they want to hear. And, you know, I know my son now, he's 14, and he's asked some big questions about what we did over there. You know what I mean? I don't think they really understand what our jobs entailed. You know what I mean? Because they make it look all pretty neat and orderly on TV and in the books and everything else. But it was basically controlled chaos. I mean, I can say that. You never knew what was going to happen any second of any day. It could happen right in your fob. It could happen outside. It could happen at, you know, just didn't know. 360 battlefield. It's new shit. And you're fighting guys that don't have uniforms. So there you go. You know, many times did I almost shoot somebody that probably wasn't righteous? Many times. Yeah, I had to get out of the vehicle a lot, and I hated that. I know a lot of people hated that. But once I got hit in the Buffalo, remember, I volunteered for a dismount and started doing the Goldie and shit like that. Because I thought we were safe in the Buffalo. We were not. That's just the biggest target. I felt safer on the ground at that point. I'll take my chances out here. looking for command wire. But I got lots of good pictures from that and stuff too. I need to send you for the book, probably, of us doing some shit out there. So I need to send those to you.
I have a lot of photos, and I know you and I did some Doki missions together, and
Yeah, those are some. That's probably the best picture that you took with me with the saw over that wall. And I don't know if I showed you. One of my buddies painted a picture of that came out awesome. He actually painted a picture of that picture. I don't know where it's at now. I think it's hanging up somewhere. But yeah, just we did take the time and had the technology a little bit to capture where we were at, which actually was where we were at near the Argandot. Remember, it was desert on one side and sort of beautiful on the other, right? So we did have, like, I remember that one mission where we were attached with the infantry, and they were in a skirmish over to the right, and we were having a real time even identifying, because there was lots of vegetation and stuff. We were trained more for the desert stuff, right? I didn't realize how much vegetation was going to be there, and it was a beautiful place and scary all at the same time, you know.
that was. Could be mystic at times in the morning with the fog, and there's like villages and the mountainsides, and it was a cool
And
place.
hearing the praying and the chanting and all that other stuff that was going on. You know, a lot of people don't talk about that, but that jacked with me a lot. The chanting. And did that jack? When you hear that now, does that have any effect on you?
No, I had a deployment before that, and I heard it every night, so I think I was desensitized to it. So I was already kind of preconditioned.
But what if you hear it? But what if you hear it now?
It probably takes. I mean, I don't hear it, but it probably takes me somewhere, and I don't know if that would be good or bad, but I'm sure it would. It'd bring up something.
Yeah, it triggers some shit when you hear Allah Akbar and all that shit, dude. Oh man, I mean, I remember you hearing that. So
I don't hear it anymore.
Right. Yeah, we're not in Dearborn.
Right. Okay. I want to thank you for your time. That was an awesome interview.
Thank you, brother. I'm so glad you're writing this book. I'm proud of you, and I love you, and I miss you, and I hope we all get to see each other before we fucking die, man.
I'm sure we will.
I'm gonna give you a big fucking hug.
All right. I'm gonna have you stay on, and I'm gonna end the recording.
Okay.
All right.